Hey, all you lovely people, it's Professor Malad here coming at you with another weekly overview. This week we're in week 3, so let me share my screen and we will get right to it. So this week we have a lot of learning resources that will help you to understand narrative writing. We're focusing more on narration or storytelling and the elements of what makes a good story. So we're going to be using narrative style and voice to help create different effects within our stories. And this will help to prepare you for the first longer essay that you are required to write in this class. I do have a video on that, the narrative essay handout overview that will hopefully be linked at the end of this video. It depends on how I edit things. Hopefully it will be linked at the end of this video. You know, at the ending screen, you'll have an option to click on it and open up the overview video. So this week, as I said, we're focusing on narration or storytelling. We're working on a personal narrative. You kind of have already had experience with personal narrative in the introductory essay. So now we're kind of growing our storytelling ability a little bit better by exploring some career options. Or if you aren't quite set on a career path yet, if you're not sure what you're doing in college, then I want you to start thinking about choosing a major that might work well for you. So we're exploring reasons for choosing majors or career paths in a personal narrative. We are practicing writing as a process that includes coming up with ideas, coming up with text, drafting, revising, and editing. You know that whole drill. Recognize that writing is a flexible and recursive process, and apply that understanding and recognition to produce successive drafts of increasing quality. So the assignments this week, we have some readings as well as some videos that you'll need to take a look at. If you don't read those things, if you don't watch the videos, you're kind of missing out on a lot of good instruction. So the reason that I post these is to replace what I would be presenting in a face-to-face class. It takes a lot of time to make these videos and to edit them and to upload them to the system. It's a lot of additional time. And while I could record a video lecture, I think sometimes that's a really dry way, especially if somebody else has recorded a more interesting video or has written a text that is very informative. I don't want to be repeating things that you could read someplace else that's more succinct and concise, or that is more interesting from a production standpoint. So that's why I will often use those crash course videos or other videos, usually TED Talks, that I think are interesting and have a lot to offer. So make sure that you review the readings and the media. We have that pre-writing exercise that's related to the narrative essay that's due on Sunday. There's also a discussion based on the video that's assigned to you this week. So let's take a look at the pre-writing exercises, what matters most. This is your opportunity to start thinking about some ideas. Last week, you had an assignment where you were taking a look at and summarizing 3 potential career paths. But this week, I want you to really focus in on one thing. And again, if you really aren't sure about a career path, if you're just like, I'm just here to see if I want to do college, right? That's fine. I get it. I was there myself. And if that's the case, then I want you to maybe focus on a possible major that you might be interested in doing. So if you want to, for the major, consider the following aspects: your personal interest. Why are you interested in this major? Job opportunities. Obviously, we're here for a reason. Most of us are not learning for learning's sake, right? Most of us have a goal in mind, and I think it's tied to making money, right? So, are there job opportunities? What career paths are available with this major? Transferability. How easily can you switch to a different field with the major that you're looking at, right? So, for example, if you are a humanities person, maybe looking at English or something like that, how can English transfer over into the working world where you're not teaching English or you're not writing it, right? How else can an English major transfer into a career? For careers, I want you to think about the following aspects. So it's one or the other. Choose whether you're going to focus on a major or whether you're going to focus on a career path. You don't have to do both. If you want to weave them in, that's fine. If you can make it work, but I don't want you to feel like you have to look at both, major or a career. Consider the following aspects for careers. Salary. What's the average salary? So you've done some of the groundwork for this already. If you are taking one of those three careers that you explored last week, and now you're like, okay, I've got this. What is the average salary for the career, level of education and skills, job opportunities, advancement, personal interest or meaningfulness, right? That more nebulous thing. Why does it interest you? Why do you want to do it? Is it just for money or is there some other greater reason? And location can also come into play. Where are the jobs for this career typically located, right? If you are in tech and you want to work for a big company like Amazon or Google, you are probably not going to be here in Cincinnati. You might have to go to the West Coast, right? The Pacific Northwest. Seattle is a major hub for Google. Maybe California, so think about those sorts of things too. The format for this assignment, this pre-writing assignment, remember, this is just brainstorming. It is a more informal assignment just to get you to start thinking. You can write it in paragraph form, or you can create a bullet point list or use a numbered list, whatever works for you. I want to ensure that your thoughts are organized to help you develop them further on when you come to week 4 and you have to write the rough draft for the essay. So your submission, you have the choice between doing a text entry box or a file upload. I will switch to my student view here so you can see what I'm talking about. Once again, when you click on Start Assignment, you have the options down here of either a file upload, which you would have to select the file from your computer, or you can do text entry where you start typing. And you would then click Submit Assignment. So remember, with each one, you want to be sure that you are clicking on Submit Assignment. Okay, so that's the pre-writing exercise. And then the next assignment is the discussion board assignment related to the clues to a great story. So I want you to answer questions below as they relate to the Andrew Stanton video, The Clues to a Great Story. That video is roughly 20 minutes long. It's a good video. If you don't know who Andrew Stanton is, you will learn who he is by the end of that video. And you'll be like, oh, I've learned something, right? So I really enjoy this TED Talk that Stanton did several years ago. What do you think Stanton means when he talks about the rhetorical device of unifying 2 plus 2 in the video? Again, there are no right or wrong answers here. I'm not going to mark you for answering incorrectly. That's not what I'm about here. I'm really just trying to get you to discuss the ideas that you have been introduced to in the video. So we have the rhetorical device of unifying 2 plus 2. What does that mean? What do you think Stanton means by spine? Again, you watch the video, you'll be able to figure it out or suss it out in some way. And then lastly, consider Stanton's story. He tells a story he tells his own personal narrative. What is his spine, right? Discuss a point in the video where Stanton reveals his spine to the viewer. So again, no right or wrong answers here. I just want you to think about the content that you are consuming and have a little bit of discussion. So initial post post. Initial post is due Sunday, February 2nd, and then your response to 2 peers is due the following Wednesday, February 5th. So let's jump back to our overview page. Those are the 2 assignments based on the things that you're reading. The readings, we have the narrative essay handout. I have recorded a separate video that walks through that. That way that keeps this video that much shorter. There are also links on narration and memoir or personal narrative. You can read one or both. It's really up to you, as long as you have some idea of what narrative writing is and how to go about writing a narrative essay. Let's see, this is a bit longer, but you can, again, read as much or as little as you want to in this reading. Stanton, the clues to a great story. I'm not going to click on that. That will open up the YouTube video, and the narrative essay handout overview, as I said before, should be linked at the end of this video. If you feel like you need a little bit of a grammar review, I have a couple of links this week on semicolons and colons. Often we will use semicolons as connectors to unite 2 independent clauses. Oftentimes, one of the biggest punctuation mistakes that students just starting out in writing use on a consistent basis is the thing called a comma splice, right? We place a comma because we've been taught that, well, you place a comma wherever you pause, right? A lot of students seem to think that a comma indicates a pause, whereas if it's at the end of a complete thought or a complete sentence, or what we call an independent clause, we actually need to use a period, or in some cases, if those 2 independent clauses are related in some way, we can use a semicolon. So these 2 readings talk about the proper usage of semicolons and colons. So I do highly recommend it if you have problems with run-on sentences, or if you tend to write as you speak. You may have some issues with sentence fragments. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of a hard thing to get over. A lot of us like to write how we speak, and we often don't speak grammatically correct, right? We speak in fragments. So it often doesn't translate over well into academic writing. So that's why we need to learn how to use punctuation correctly, right? Semicolon can be a big helper in avoiding sentence fragments, and just knowing when to use it, when not to use it, when to use a period instead, or when a comma might be appropriate. Okay, so that said, we are about 20% through our course. Remember, this is spring semester. It's slightly shorter. We don't have a full 15 weeks of class meetings. Not that we are meeting, but we have 14 weeks of classes. So we're getting into week 3. Our final week will be finals week, which technically would be week 15. So we are roughly 20% done with the course after this week. Not to freak you out or anything, but it's good to take a look at the calendar just for planning purposes. If you like to take a look at calendars, I do have, let's get the right course up here. This is our course. So things that are struck through are assignments that have already been submitted, and then we have the end of January here. So this is end of January is week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7. And so we have February, March, and most of April, and then we will be done. So it goes quickly. folks, and we have a lot to do in the time that we have left. So it's always a good idea to take a look ahead to see what assignments you have due, and if you need to schedule time, you're leading busy lives, you're taking an online class, and oftentimes the online class gets relegated to the bottom of the pile. I understand it, but it doesn't mean the things that we do here are less important. They're still important. You have to take the class to get to the next step of the requirements. So it's a good idea to take a look ahead and to manage your time wisely. Back to my courses, prep composition. So yeah, that is week 3 in a very large nutshell. Probably a coconut, not a walnut. If you have any questions for me, you know how to get in touch with me. I look forward to reading more of your work, and have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.